I am preparing for my first speech within level 2 of the Pathways program, and the particular path I'm on, which is Motivational Strategies. And this speech that I've been assigned has to do with understanding your own communication style. Now, Pathways is interesting because there are 5 levels to each path, and no matter which of the paths you're on, level 1 is basically identical for every single path. But level 2 is where it starts to switch up and get a little bit different depending which path you're on. So some of the level 2 speeches that you may get assigned depending which path you're on are things like understanding your communication style, understanding your leadership style, active listening, managing time, effective body language, and cross-cultural communication. These are all options, and depending on the path that you're on, you will get assigned different speeches. And then every single level 2, again, regardless of the path, has a introduction to mentoring, which is an assignment there as well. So I'm diving into my speech and preparing for understanding my communication style. And it's really cool within Pathways because they actually have a quiz you can take to understand what type of communicator are you? And according to Toastmasters, there are 4 different communication types. There is the supportive communicator, the analytical communicator, the initiating communicator, and the direct communicator. So you answer a number of quiz questions, and then it tells you which type of communicator you are. Now, as I was going through this, I realized that there's an acronym to help you remember it, and that is SAID, as in SAID, supportive, analytical, initiating, and direct. So it might help you remember it that way. And here's the differences between these communication styles. Supportive communicators are often really good listeners. They're empathetic. They're kind. If they are communicating, they often do so in a way that is being very mindful of the feelings of whoever they're talking to. The downside, because all of these speaking styles have their pros but also have their cons, the downside for supportive communicators is they can come across as a little bit indecisive. They're wishy-washy because they don't want to disrupt or hurt somebody's feelings from time to time. Then there's the analytical communicators, and these are the people who know their data. They have their numbers, they have charts, they have factual information. And when you're communicating to an analytical communicator, if you're telling stories and being very abstract, your message probably isn't landing with them. They want concrete data. So we know that they're factually correct. That is a positive. The downside is that a lot of communication for keeping people's attention has to do with dynamic and spontaneous and being creative. And analytical communicators struggle with that. They are much more formal. They often struggle with vocal variety, so that is a challenge for them. Then you have initiating, and initiating are very good at being spontaneous and creative and outside of the box. These are people who are energetic, they're fun-loving. The challenge that they have, because they're often very good presenters, the challenge they have comes to listening. They are often thinking about what they want to say, and they don't always tap into hearing what the other person is saying, and that can create some friction in conversations. So it's important, if you're an initiating communicator, that you're really mindful of trying to hear what the other person is saying in one-on-one conversations. And finally, we have direct communicators, and these people are to the point. They're often the lone wolf type, they're often competitive, but they are direct. They tell you the information. They cut through all of the fluff and they deliver that message. And sometimes that's refreshing because, especially in Canada, we like to tiptoe around different things, whereas direct communicators will tell you the information you need to know. The downside is they can come across as a bit aggressive sometimes or rude. And if you get a direct person talking to a supportive communicator, that might lead to some frustration in communicating both ways. I took the quiz and I ended up being a 50-50 split. My top scores were initiating and supportive. I like to think of myself when I'm giving a presentation as being initiating, having that energy, and then hopefully on the listening side, I tap into that supportive piece. But I didn't register any score for analytical or direct. And the message there for me is to know that if I am communicating to analytical audiences or direct audiences, that I have to deliver the point. I need to get to the point. I need to still have my data backed up along with the stories and the fun. There still needs to be concrete takeaways. Another thing I want to highlight is that there is no one communication style that's necessarily better than the others. They're simply different. But that awareness is really key when we know we're communicating to one of these particular communication types. And what I mean by this is if you're delivering a presentation to a room full of accountants, your message will probably look different than if you're presenting to a room full of life coaches, because there are probably different communication styles amongst those two groups, knowing what they do for a profession. So it's something for us to keep in mind because we always want to be delivering a message that is of value to our audience. So for yourself, if you are preparing for this particular speech, the level 2 speech 1 of the motivational strategies, the understanding your communication style, I encourage you, take the quiz and then find out what style you are. And then if you're thinking about, well, what speech can I do? Do you have an experience in life where you have really demonstrated whatever communication style ranked as your highest? Or do you have a story about trying to interact with a different communication style and how that created a real challenge that you had to overcome? Or perhaps you give your general thoughts about all of the communication styles and the pros and the cons. There are many different ways you can take this speech. My speech that I'm going to be delivering later this week is going to focus on 2 bosses I've had in the past. And one was an initiating communicator and one was an analytical. And it was very different when I walked into each of their offices, how I would communicate with them, depending who I was talking to. And then I thought it would be fun to deliver the awe counter report 4 different ways. So I'm going to attempt to deliver an awe counter report in each of those communication styles and then have the audience guess which one I'm doing. I hope this video was helpful for you if you're taking on the understanding your communication style speech, or even if you're finally delving into level 2 of your path, and this gives you a bit of a broad general idea of what to expect. A quick thought I want to leave you with is that I did some diving into the analytics on my channel, and I realized that only 10% of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. That means 90% of you watching this have not subscribed to my channel. And I would ask, if you are serious about leveling up your communication skills or improving within Toastmasters, sign up to my channel. It's the best thing you can do to support yourself in your goal to be a better communicator. It's absolutely free, and it does a great deal to support my channel as well, so I can continue to deliver these educational videos. And if you're just starting out on Pathways and you're on level 1, speech 1, the icebreaker, check out this video that's popping up because I talk about what you should be thinking about going into that speech. Thanks for watching this one, and good luck with your level 2 speeches.